Living and breathing La Vida Boa. Welcome to the Boa Life podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Demora, alongside host Nick Colhay. We are here to tell our story, to hear and admire the stories of others, and to listen and learn.
What's up, everybody? I'm your co-host, Nick Colhay. This is the Boa Life podcast, episode number 14. Are you ready to do this, Steve?
Let's go.
Tonight's guest is someone that I've had the privilege of knowing for 12 wondrous years. This is someone I look up to, someone I appreciate, and even someone I love. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ray Boa.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Nick. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming
Steve.
on.
Appreciate being here and look forward to having a heart-to-heart conversation with the two of you and to share experiences and a lot of good things, hopefully.
Yeah. As soon as we started this, as soon as Steve told me the name of the actual podcast, I said, all right, well, my father-in-law's got to be on sooner or later.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later.
Well, to be honest, we wanted to have him on as one of the first guests, but we're like, we can't ask him right away. We have to show you a body of work before. I felt like we needed to give you a body of work before we brought you on.
No problem.
And that was a great introduction. And I kind of have to echo the same feelings. I've brought in prior podcasts how, the person I admire the most in my life is my father. And I've been extremely fortunate to have him as a role model and as a father. I was blessed to have him. And I know that my father holds you in very high esteem. So not that I don't, because I've always looked up to you, admired. You're welcome. I've always looked up and admired you, and you're someone that I wish that one day I can, be the type of person you are. But besides that, the fact that my father holds you in such high esteem to me tells me everything I need to know about you. So I'm honored to be on the show with you and to have you on. And it's interesting. I've known you my whole life, and I said earlier, it's, we've had conversations, and I've learned so much from watching you and seeing you. But now to actually be in a room and have maybe a profound conversation and talk about life is pretty awesome. So thank you for being here. I know you're here for Nick and I to support us in this endeavor more than anything, and just to have you on and be able to listen to you and have this conversation is unbelievable. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart.
It's my pleasure, Steve, and I echo the same feelings. Those feelings are mutual. I have tremendous respect for your dad, Tony Demora, and for you. I've followed your career since you were a child and saw you grow up and go to high school and be just an incredible soccer player, one who should have been an All-American, but unfortunately, I think you'll come up in the conversations. Not all things that we sometimes deserve happen to us, but we learn from those experiences, and I think it makes us stronger, and it certainly has done that with your situation. And I recall perfectly well writing a letter at that time and feeling, very upset the fact that you were not named All-American and somebody else that I felt didn't have the credentials and the success that you had been given that opportunity. So thank you for those kind words about me, and I look forward to this conversation and to share our experiences. Afterwards, I continue to see you progress through University of Rhode Island, where you were once again an outstanding soccer player in Division I soccer. And it's been nothing but a pleasure to see you grow and mature and married to your wonderful wife, Kate, and 3 beautiful children. So I think your life has been a success. And the same thing goes for my son-in-law, Nick, who married my oldest daughter, Callie. And they have 2 beautiful children, Luke and Mila. And they're exemplary parents, and I could not be more proud than I am of you, Nick, and of Callie, and love your children, my grandchildren dearly. and hope to share a lot of thoughts and these kind of experiences that hopefully along the way might help someone and to learn from this experience. I think this is an innovative idea, and I give you both credit for taking the initiative of doing this. It's not always comfortable, but we learn from being uncomfortable. So I think that's how we grow, putting ourselves in positions of sometimes being uncomfortable, and that's what I hope to do here today with both of you.
Yeah, we've said the same thing over and over, probably in each episode that's already been out. Like, you have to get uncomfortable and you have to put your story out there. You have to get out and just say what's on your mind, and hopefully you can help people along the way. So thank you for those kind words. There's nothing better than being part of the Boa family and now the Boa Life and talking all about how good life is. So thank you for those kind
You're
words.
welcome. My pleasure.
Now, let's just, on the record, your daughter Kelly has a sister, right? So she must be married, and I'm wondering, who's your favorite son-in-law?
That is a fantastic question.
Well,
Time to break the ice.
I have two daughters, Callie and Laurie, and a son, Joseph, and I have three absolutely wonderful two son-in-laws and one daughter-in-law, Nick, Dan Olson, who was apparently here previously in this podcast, and just both of you are outstanding individuals, and love you both tremendously. And Joseph, my son, who's married to Allie, and also just like a daughter. You are two sons, and she's a daughter to me, and that's the way we look at our family. And it's the most important thing that I treasure is my children, which is including our two son-in-laws and daughter-in-law and our grandchildren. It's what I live for, what I cherish the most in life.
I'm glad to hear that too, because early on it wasn't easy coming into a big family and being introduced to people that just get together all the time and eat and party and sing together and have fun. So I was welcomed with open arms, and I'm very proud of that, and I hold you and the whole family in high regard. So
thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
Feeling is mutual, my friend.
There's nothing like friendship and family, and look at when you go on monumental journeys in life, and when you can do them with family that are there behind you, supporting you and cheerleading you. I mean, look at, you're on the show. Your son-in-law was on the show. I mean, it is incredibly important in life to have a network, and what better network can you have than a family? Obviously, one of the reasons that we're here is your granddaughter. I mean, it kind of inspired this whole thing. I mean, I watched him do something, and it just triggered something that created this. And could you ever have imagined as a young man, first of all, you please share this journey, as a young man living in a different continent, that you would be where you are today? I mean, the viewers don't know who you are necessarily, but you're someone that is an amazingly successful individual, an entrepreneur. You have an incredible business. You worked at a huge company prior to that. I mean, you've really done everything, and you've gotten to a point in your life where, by any measure of success, you're someone to be looked at and admired. I couldn't even go over all the awards and the accolades that you've won and what you've done in the community. But looking back, when you were first a young man living where you were, could you ever imagine where you are today?
No, I definitely could not. Life takes us to incredible turns and ups and downs and difficult situations. And from where I started, I could not possibly imagine ever being in a situation that I am today. And I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed to have had two parents who were really inspirational for me and my brother. If you can talk about people you look up to, and the things that they did, really have driven my success, I think, in life to a great extent. Both of them, just to share my story in the beginning of my life. I was born in a small village, northern Portugal, Vila Franca do Dião, which is near Guarda. That's the city that's closest to our town, and it's a farming community. And basically, people in that community lived to survive. I mean, to feed themselves, and you basically where you started is where you ended, and doing the same thing, and just to feed your family and so forth. So my parents, on my mother's side, there was 8 brothers and sisters, and on my father's side, the same thing. So there were large families, and there were no real opportunities. My parents, both of them, never had the opportunity to even go to school and learn to read and write. So faced with that challenge, when they had the 2 boys, my brother is 2 years older than me, they decided to move to Angola, Africa, a Portuguese colony. I was 13 months old, my brother was 3, and, got on a ship, sailed for 7 days, and went into a farming community and took over a farm, and that's where they worked, and it was all hand labor. We lived in a house the first, I would say, 9 years of my life there. We didn't have running water, we didn't have electricity, we didn't have any mechanical equipment. In the beginning, we didn't have tractors, we didn't have motors. All the work was all handwork, and that's where I grew up. And I could remember vividly laying down on a ditch, looking up at the sky, seeing an airplane go above, and saying, "Is it possible that there could be people inside that plane?" It just looked almost impossible given where I was. And I remember the first phone that I heard. I remember getting the first radio, seeing the first radio for the first time. A lot of things that today you take for granted, but growing up as a child, like I said, we had a little brook that ran across our, front of our house, and that's where we got our water, and we lived off the land. People talk about living green. Well, we lived as green gets, and so that was an incredible experience, something that I treasure deeply, and went to school the first 4 years. We had one teacher that taught 4 grades simultaneously, first, second, third, and fourth. In one classroom, there was one row of chairs for one grade, another row for second grade, and so forth. So for 4 years that we went to school there, that's the way we learned. And I never forget these words from my mom. After 4th grade, there was no place to go other than to move to the city, which was about an hour away from where we lived, and to continue your education. It would be like living primary school here and going to high school. So, but there was after 4th grade. So I remember sitting around the table with my mom, my dad, and my brother, and I remember my mom saying to my dad these words: "If I have to take food out of my mouth for our kids to go to school, continue their education, that's what I want to do." So they decided to leave the farm and move to the city. My dad didn't know what he was going to do. He just decided we were going to pack up and go to school. So he rented an apartment, and then he started buying cattle and selling cattle to slaughterhouses and so forth. And in those 2 years that we were, I think about 3 years that we were there before we came to the United States, my dad made more money in that time than he did the previous 8 years working the land. And the lesson that I've learned from that is that whatever you do for your kids or for any children, God will bless you 10 times over. And then the opportunity came. My uncle Jack Boa, who is Stephen Demora's grandfather, invited my dad and the family to come to the United States. And my parents didn't hesitate.
How old were you at that time?
At that time, I was 12 and my brother was 14. So my parents didn't hesitate. It was an opportunity to come to America, the land of opportunity. And so they started their paperwork. It took about 2 to 3 years to get the visas and to get our green card to come to the U.S. So we went back to Portugal for 2 months. I hadn't been there since I had left there as a baby. Went back to Portugal and stayed there for a couple of months, and then came to the United States and came by boat. Took us 7 days. Went Lisbon, Halifax, Canada, to Manhattan, New York. And just imagine 2 kids from Africa arriving on a ship, Christopher Columbus, an Italian liner, passenger liner, and 8 o'clock in the morning, going past the Statue of Liberty, looking at these humongous buildings, and it was just awe-striking to us, and just never forget that image. And our uncle was there to pick us up, Jack Boa, walked right into the pier, looked for my parents, identified them, took us from there. We had all our trunks and suitcases and so forth that we brought with us from Africa, and we came to Danbury, and that's how life started. But it was just a tremendous experience. And again, going back to my parents and what they did for us, my dad, when he arrived here, was already in his 50s, and basically was starting life all over again. So, you know, whatever money he had saved and so forth, he basically spent to come to America and to bring his kids to a good life here. And once we were here, they stayed for 11 years. They worked. They got their retirement. Once they retired, and my brother got married, I got married, and they went back to Portugal, full circle, back to their hometown where they lived a wonderful, healthy life to their early 90s. And so God blessed them for all the right reasons and everything they did for my brother and I can never forget them. They really are my heroes and my idols.
It's amazing to listen to, and I've had the privilege of seeing the motherland, something and the only place I've ever been in Europe, across the pond, and it was just amazing, and it's interesting to listen to because it makes you think like how many people were in a similar position,
absolutely,
that as you were way back then, and even today, it's just it's hard to imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great story. It's the American dream, right?
Yeah,
Your
it
parents
really is the American dream. I mean, coming to America, I mean, we see what people do to cross the border and so forth. It's the American dream. It still is today, and despite what many people may think that is wrong with this country. I've had the good fortune of traveling, of living in 3 continents, basically. Europe, Africa, the United States. There's no country like the United States. There's no country that offers an individual the opportunity to succeed like you have in America. And this is the land of opportunity, the land where you can really fulfill your dreams. And that's basically what's happened with me and with so many others.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I admire the most is the courage and the sacrifice that the people before us have undertaken so that we can have a better life. I mean, I am blessed to be the product of my grandfather and the hard work. My dad came from humble beginnings like you did.
Same thing.
And come here and sacrifice and work hard and provide a better opportunity even for the next generation. And now it's our turn, right? So now it's you're at a position where you can relax and enjoy the fruits of the labors of the people before you, or you can continue on with that ethos of hard work. I think what I admire about a lot of Portuguese happens to be my culture like yours, and and I know you were in Africa as well. But you know that the cultural Portuguese work ethic. I think a lot of the Portuguese come and they work hard and they're willing to make sacrifices to make their lives better for their children. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily what everyone should do. I mean, it's a life I'm going to choose to do, is to continue to try to sacrifice so that I can and build a better future for my kids. And I think even doing this is towards that goal, right? To do what we can to improve the lives of other people, because I do believe that, you know, when waters rise, you know, all the ships rise with it. Obviously, you've encountered so much, you know, in your life to get where you are. I mean, what would you say to people that are trying to achieve what you achieved? Or what were the things that you did to get to where you were?
Well, I think one thing is, whatever you do in life, do what you like and be the best that you can be at it. I think we should all seek to do those things that we feel we enjoy, that gives us pleasure. And then once we're doing them, let's be the best that we can be at doing it. And I think if you do that and you stay true to your values such as being honest, being persistent, hardworking, dedicated, committed, and never giving up. I think what happens so many times, people are so close to being successful or to breaking through and just give up. And I think that's something I also learned from my dad, that he would always have the expression that even if you had your guts in your hands, you never give up. And he was so firm, and you know, the things that he did with limited experience and so forth, I think have instilled those kind of values in me. And to this day, I think the same way. You know, whatever I dedicate myself to, I totally commit to, and give it my best. And I think, you know, if you give it your best, let God do the rest. And I firmly believe in that. And one thing I must say also, my mom was a very, very faithful person, and you know, she just great determination and had great instincts, you know, and I think what drove them was just faith in God and a belief that if they did the right things, they would get the right results. And I still think that way, and firmly believe in that. You keep doing the right things, and the right result will come for you. But it takes persistence. It takes falling down, tripping, getting yourself up, dusting yourself off, and keep going. And eventually, the tide turns, and things go your way. And so it's never giving up, and just being that persistent, I think, is absolutely critical.
Yeah, those words you just said are kind of something that are instilled in me finally, you know, over the past 5-10 years. Growing up, you know, unlike you, I was born down the street in a nice, warm hospital room, literally 2 minutes up the road. So it was hard for me, you know, life struggles for me back then was just like if my sisters were in the bathroom or not, and I could use it. So really can't relate. But like I was saying, just by knowing what real hard work is, learning from you as well as many other people, especially the Portuguese work ethic, it's really it's made me want to get up every day to work even harder and push through certain things. And Steve and I joke about me saying, no, hard physical things are easy, because I like to imagine that's easy when you compare it to stuff that other people are going through, like growing up without water, running water, or having to, you know, forage for your own food, and the real struggles that actually still go on in this world today.
Yeah.
So, and I have you as well as many others to thank for that work ethic.
Well, you know, and you both have it in you. I mean, you do things that are absolutely incredible. You know, when you did the event for Mila, you know, running 48 miles in 48 hours. I mean, just to most people, it's like it's almost impossible, but yet you did it. So you do have that strength in you, and you're a very organized person. You set your schedules, you get up early and so forth. So it's a commitment. I mean, Steve, all the success he's had in high school and college and, in his career also, it's dedication and hard work. No matter how you put it, you don't get there if you're not committed to it. But once you commit to it and it's something you enjoy, obviously it's running. It's something that gives you pleasure, and being fit, and it's all part of the formula of being successful. I know for myself, when I don't feel fit, or if I feel like, I'm putting on weight, or I feel sluggish, I need to increase my workout, I need to be more disciplined. I too get up 5:30 every morning. I'm 65 years old. I probably should be retired and living the Boa Life, but I'm still working, and I love what I do, and I love the challenges that life brings me, and each chapter of my life, I think, is what drives me, and I look forward to the next chapter and the next one, and I look forward to what's coming ahead. I live in the moment. I try to enjoy what I'm doing without worrying about what happened in the past or what's coming in the future. A lot of times we get so caught up in things that have happened in the past that drag us down, or things that we want in the future that we're so that we forget to live the moment. And I think it's very important that we become grounded and that we stay in the moment, even though you always have your goals and your objectives out there, but live in the moment. That's very, very critical and
That's
very important.
That's a great point. I think the audience really needs to hone in on that and understand that's something I firmly believe, is that you can't change the past.
Nope.
There's absolutely nothing you can do to change what has already happened. Time is ticking,
Yep.
and you can't change it, literally. So why harp on that?
Exactly.
Just move forward,
Yep.
learn from it, or just forget about it completely, and that's the only choice you have.
I love the motto, today is the beginning of the rest of your life. Today is the beginning of the rest of your life. So it's what you do today that counts. It's not what happened yesterday, it's water under the bridge.
Live in the
So
present.
live in the present, and if things didn't go so well, so be it. Nobody has a perfect life. Nobody has it where things are smooth. Life wouldn't be worth living if it's like that.
Perfection.
Without challenges.
Yeah, perfection, unachievable.
Unachievable, exactly.
We strive for it, but
Yep, totally agree.
We talk about that as one of our, our main concerns in life right now is being parents, or grandparents. It's, you want to make sacrifices. You want to work hard to do things for them and make a better life. But, the most important thing is your time. There's no more valuable commodity.
Yeah.
And you should be spending that time with people you love and doing things that are worthwhile like this. And sometimes if you worry too much about the past or worry too much about the future, then you're going to miss out on all that time you could be spending with people you love. So
Yeah.
I love hearing that from you, because it just reestablishes what I already know. And I think a lot of when we have these conversations, it gives people that, that reminder, like, all right, yeah, that's right. I should be thinking that. I got to enjoy the present. I got to have goals and all that stuff. But don't forget, enjoy some of the fruits of your labor sometimes.
Absolutely.
If you're always looking to the future, your life's good. It's like our kids, before you know it, they're, graduating or going on and leaving the house. I know you mentioned me as an athlete. I mean, you were an athlete in your own right, and your son was a phenomenal athlete and a college athlete. And we talk about fitness all the time.
Mm-hmm.
How valuable do you think, I know you touched upon on fitness, but athletics, how did that shape your life in any way, if it did?
Absolutely tremendous. When I came to this country, like I said, I was 12. I never really played on any team before coming here. I didn't even know the rules of the game of soccer. And my freshman year in high school, I wanted to go out for soccer, and I was kind of very small, and my brother, who was 2 years older and was playing at Danbury High School, said, Ray, they got a bunch of wrestlers. They will crush you. They'll break your bones. You better just go out when you're a sophomore. And I did. I followed his advice and went out for soccer when I was my sophomore year. And like I said previously, whatever I do it to be the best that I can be. So I would train hard. I would practice. At that time, I wasn't working, so I really dedicated myself to be the best I could be playing. And went on to be captain of the Danbury High School team, and very successful teams that we had at Danbury High, great records. And it was, to me, probably what helped me break into the, when I got here, I was so shy that if somebody looked at me or said a word to me, my heart would start beating, my ears would turn red. I would be like, almost like in shock, whether it was, a stranger or somebody that I had never met before. It would just make me super nervous. And I was really, really shy. So soccer helped me tremendously to overcome that, because it got in the soccer field, you ran, you got to learn valuable lessons, how to win, how to lose, how to fall and get up, how to be part of a team, the importance of teamwork, so many things that are absolutely critical in one's life, whether it's at work, whether it's your family, just valuable lessons that helped me tremendously was being part of that soccer team and learning the game and playing at at a very competitive level. Then I went on to play at Westcon, where I enjoyed a wonderful 4 years there as well. Have the best memories of playing there, and with my brother and a lot of my friends from high school, Danbury High, that we were playing together. We moved on to Westcon and had winning seasons every year, and once again, made you feel really good to be a part of success and to be a part of winning teams, and that teamwork, I think, was invaluable.
Yeah, and you should probably mention your three amazing children also went on, and they followed in your footsteps a bit. I know Joseph was a soccer star. Kelly, I remember, I was told, was starting varsity, early on in high school.
Correct.
So how was that, watching them grow up and go through all the things that you just remembered?
Yeah, we always obviously valued kids staying busy and being involved. So from a young age, Kelly and Lori did gymnastics, they did ballet, then Kelly decided she wanted to take up soccer. Joseph was into soccer right from the beginning. He played basketball at St. Joe's, where one year they were, I think, 17-0, had a perfect record. Things like that that I think he remembers fondly of participating at Brookfield. Again, winning seasons, did very well. Ended up going on to UConn and playing First Division soccer at UConn. Was on the Olympic development team, ODP, selected, I believe, 4 times into the ODP team. They traveled to Barcelona, Spain. They traveled to Costa Rica, various parts of the United States. Just a tremendous wealth of experience for him at a very young age. So I think both Kelly and Lori, to this day, they work out, they practice, they train, they stay in shape, and they're now. You guys are doing the same thing with your kids. So I think it gets passed on from generation to generation. I know Stephen's dad was also a great soccer player and loved soccer, very passionate about it, as I am. Sports, again, I kind of hurt my knee. I wasn't able to continue to play later on in life, so ended up taking a second sport, and that was golf. And Stephen's dad also plays golf, and we truly enjoy it. And my brother Joe, So, it's something that you can play basically for the rest of your life. So, again, it's that, once you're an athlete, once you participate in sports, it feels like it's a part of you and you want to continue doing it. Stay in shape and continue practicing, whether it's one modality or another. It's very important.
Yeah, I think the actual word athlete gets tossed around too much. We know professional athletes, obviously, but really, if you just set your mind to something, whether it's golf or soccer or just running in general, if you gotta take in that athlete form, then you'll be more dedicated and eventually get better at it.
Yep.
So I think, if anyone does anything regularly, they're an athlete in their own right.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, we always talk about how that is so important, and healthy lifestyle, all about balance. I mean, I have 3 children myself, like you did. I guess selfishly, like my question to you is, I know, and I'd love for you to talk about your community involvement, but you're someone who is in business, involved in the community, family oriented. Like anyone else, fitness, taking care, doing some things for yourself, because I think that's important. I've always talked about, the good life being a life of balance, like doing a lot of things you love and never getting off kilter. And I know it's not possible. I'm sure you were. What did you do when you were out of balance? Like how do you stay in balance in your life when you do so many things? Because I know I feel like sometimes I'm maybe working too much, or I'm doing this too much, and then I know I'm not spending enough time with my family. What do you do to stay grounded and balanced in your life when you have a lot of things pulling at you from different directions?
Yeah, sometimes you just have to take a step back and reassess and determine, what you need to change. And it could be, take some time off, recover mentally, physically, go on a vacation. There's a lot of things like that sort of breaks that rhythm that sometimes gets you into a situation where you're not feeling your best, or the motivation or whatever could be lacking. And I think all those kind of things are helpful. Other times it's the people around you that sometimes put you in check and say, listen, you need to do this. And I'll just give you an example here. A few years back in my business, it was a very stressful period of time. We had invested heavily into new equipment to expand our business. And I recall at one time we owed a vendor almost $2 million. Money wasn't coming in. The bills kept coming, and so we were seriously struggling. And I was waking up in the middle of the night, cold sweats, and not being able to sleep, and just really agitated and so forth. And at that time, I got together with my brother-in-law, my partner in the business, Erlindo, and his son Louis, and we went to that vendor and had a conversation with him and say, listen, this is what the situation is. Give us some time, but I assured him, you have my word that I will pay you every penny that I owe you. Mm-hmm. Even if I have to sell the shirt off my back to do that, I will not owe you a penny when we're done. And he said, Ray, we've been working together for over 30 years. I've never had a problem. I understand what you're going through. We'll work with you. And sure enough, things turned around. We got him paid in full, and the rest is history. But at that time, it really took a toll on me because, being who I am, to be in that situation, it was very, very painful and difficult. And that's when my wife said, I've been doing yoga and Pilates. You really should come out and try it and see if you like it. Well, sure enough, I started doing it. fell in love with it, and to this day I do yoga, I do Pilates, I do walking, golf, whatever to stay in shape. But that was my introduction to it. And my daughters do yoga. My daughter-in-law, Allie, teaches yoga. And she's really good at it too. And I've taken a lot of her classes. And it's just been a great experience. So to your point, to your question, a lot of times from these tough experiences, there's new things that come upon. When I hurt my knee, that's when I started playing golf. Otherwise, I probably would have kept playing soccer and wouldn't have had an interest in golf. But, you know, I think we're destined to do certain things. And when these things happen, we just cannot lose hope and feel like, you know, we'll get through it. And this is happening for a reason. And I just need to be strong enough to get through this period. And there will be light at the end of the tunnel. And if you think that way, sure enough, it will happen.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason, right?
Yep.
It's always important to remember that.
For sure.
Yeah, and managing minefields, no matter where they come, it's like here you are, someone that's been successful for so long, and you can still have a hiccup when you think maybe you're on top of the world, and it's
Absolutely.
like, I've got to remember from time to time, stay humble, you know, stay on the right path, be prepared for, you know, something that may happen. And, you know, life has a funny way of throwing you a curveball when you least expect it. If it's the, you know, the death of someone in your family, or I mean, just things that you can't control. It's like sometimes we're searching for happiness. It's like, you know, be happy when you can be happy, but, you know,
so true.
Make decisions in your life and hope for the best, I guess. But it's interesting that you talk about yoga and stuff. We've talked about different stuff in our podcast with certain people about managing stress. And, you know, I've struggled with fitness and, you know, yo-yo here and there. But, you know, everybody's got to find something that works for them, whether it's breathing or running or yoga. And, I mean, when you listen to things that have worked for other people, you hope that will work for you too. But sometimes it's just you're either happenstance or, you know, trying different things and eventually finding something that fits. And for you, I'm glad that you had that, because when you're a high achiever and you're someone that has, you know, business, or you have a lot of stresses to deal with, whether they're financial or work or family, if you're not balanced with, you know, doing physical stuff and staying centered, and obviously you with spirituality, life can be very hard. I don't want to say it's nice, because I don't think it's nice to hear that you've gone through that, but it is nice to hear that someone that I respect and admire and think, you know, he's at the pinnacle, that every once in a while has had a hiccup where he's having to deal with stuff. It just makes us feel more human. I think a lot of our listeners can listen to that and say, wow, Ray Boa, you know, the epitome, I think, of the Boa life, you know, had a setback, had to worry about stuff. And it you can take a deep breath. It's like, everyone has moments in their lives where they're going to have struggles, whatever they may be. And you got to, you know, work hard to get through them. Like your mother said, you know, never give up. And she'd be willing to give the shirt off of her back to get you through it. I think that mentality keeps people going, you know. And
something I also want to add, Steve, is that absolutely critical for success is the people you surround yourself with. And to get through times like that, it's the people that are around you that make the difference. I could never be where I am today if it wasn't for the people that I closely associate with. And that's starting with my wife. She's just an incredible woman. I'm just so proud of her and the way she has raised our children. Kelly, Lori, and Joseph is just unbelievable. My wife had a retail store. She was able to, you know, cook for the kids, prepare their, you know, take care of the household, run a business. just incredible energy and just a very intuitive person with great instincts. I'm more of a calmer a thinker. I think about things before I do them. She's very quick. She makes decisions quickly. She gets things done on a heartbeat. She's just an incredible energy, and I wouldn't be here where I am today and would never have reached the success that I have reached if it wasn't for the partner that I have, and that's my wife. And we were both, young. We got married at 22, and at the time we got married, before we got married, we already owned jointly a two-family house and a one-family house. She worked very hard at American Cyanamid. At the time, I worked at Groliers part-time, going through high school and going through college. I worked after school, and we saved money. We were able to invest it, and basically for the first 15 years while we lived on Maple Avenue, the first house that we lived in, modest two-bedroom house with one bathroom. It was very modest living, and but we lived for free. The rents that we collected on the two-family house that we owned basically paid for all our expenses, both mortgages, and we were able to save money. We were able to invest money, whether it was in real estate, whether it was in building our dream home, all those things. And and one thing that it's me personally, what has given me success, or financial independence, I should say, probably investing in real estate was a tremendous help. And and living a modest life, not spending more than you earn. First car that I owned was a '68 Rambler. I owned it for 11 years. I paid $700 when I bought it. When I sold it, I think 11 years later, I sold it for like $400. So the first house, the home that we bought, and the first car that I owned, I think were the best two investments that I had made in my life to get my life going. And I've always, coming from a background of very little, I was a saver. I wouldn't go and buy coffee. I would drink the coffee at home. If you took that money and then I'd invest it in real estate, or you put it in the stock market, at the end of the year, the money that you could think about 30, 40 years later what that would mean. So, little things like that. And, again, for those that might be listening or to this story, those are the little things that can make a difference in a lifetime. And if you do it at a younger age, we were very fortunate that both my wife and I, like I said, we started our lives very young. We were married both at 22, we're the same age. And, invested in real estate, and it appreciated tremendously over the years. And that's what propelled us to the lifestyle that we have today. And again, working at Groliers, working long hours. My day would start at basically at Westcon at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. Soccer practice and soccer games after the game, had 15 minutes to go from the soccer field to the gym, take a quick shower in 15 minutes, be on the road, and by 4:30 be at Groliers to start my shift until 9, 10 o'clock at night. So it was every day like that. And so, success is really the people that you surround yourself with. And I have to mention my brother-in-law, Lindo Augusto, in the construction business. He's a brother. He's not my brother-in-law. He's my brother. just like my brother Joe. I love him dearly. We've had a great partnership. We've been partners for almost 40 years, and since 1982. So I think it'll be 40 years probably next year, just great relationship with our families, with our kids. Great mutual respect for each other. He took care of field operations. I took care of the office operations and estimating and so forth, and then eventually the kids came up, both Louis, Danny, and later on Joe came into the business. And together as a family, we made the business grow to where it is today, where we're performing work in New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, doing highway work and airports, municipalities, a lot of big jobs and so forth. But it took times, like I said before, where we invested, probably overextended ourselves to get to where we are today. And I think those type of steps and those type of sacrifices really propelled us to where we are today. And if it wasn't for the people that we surrounded ourselves and the support that we had from our family and from our people that were close associates of ours, whether it was business associates or immediate family, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So who you surround yourself is very important.
Yeah.
It can make or break you.
Yeah, you mentioned family business just in general. I mean, you could probably search anywhere and find a horror story about family business not going the right way. So it's refreshing to hear just the basic things: mutual respect. You have a vision for what you want the business to be, and even though you guys are all family and you might have different opinions or different ways of doing things, you always keep those foundational respects in mind, and that's obviously led to where you are today with all of them.
No question. I think when it comes to those core values that you have, and I know my brother-in-law has them, Al, and I have them, and our kids have them, and is that honesty, respect for each other. If one is down, give them a hand, pull them up, and vice versa. That's what it's all about. And I think when we together, we're stronger than individually.
That's right.
And and I think that's how we've got to where we are. And to circle back to the beginning where I said, what you do for your kids, God will compensate you 10 times over. I had a very tough decision to make when I worked at Duracell, the battery company, for 11 years. And at that time, this is prior to getting into the construction business, I was blessed with just an unbelievable job. I had the opportunity to work and be manager of export sales and service for the international development markets of Duracell. And that included Africa, the Middle East, the Caribbean, and Latin America at the time. And I had the opportunity to travel extensively throughout the United States, going to trade shows in Chicago, Las Vegas, and many different places, and to travel overseas as well, to Brazil, to Argentina, all the Caribbean islands. And I say it was a dream job because they gave me as a sales territory Bermuda, Grand Cayman, and the Bahamas. So obviously we traveled there in the winter months to do our checking on our distributors there and so forth. So I had a great life. And one day, after all the 3 kids were born, I approached my wife, and I should preface that by saying that I had been partners with my brother-in-law for 7 years, Arlindo, who had offered me to buy half of the company. At that time, they had been established for 3 years already. And I became a silent partner. I helped them out in any way that I could on a part-time basis. But one day, I just came home and told my wife, I said, Zulmira, I've decided that I'm going to go full-time into the construction business. And she says, Ray, are you crazy? You have 3 weeks vacation. You have the best benefits anybody could ask for. We get to travel all over the place. And, you know, we've been to Europe. We've been to the Caribbean. We've been to so many different places together. You're going to give that up to go to construction? What do you know about construction? And I said, really not much, but I'm willing to learn. And if it doesn't work out, I can always come back and do what I'm doing. You know, once you've learned something, it's like riding a bike. You know, you never forget it. So, you know, I was fortunate. I speak 4 different languages. I can come back and get a job in any company in the international division and do what I'm doing right now. So I didn't hesitate. In the back of my mind, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My brother had his own business. My brother-in-law, Orlindo, was running his construction company, mostly doing residential work. So I just wanted to give it a try on a full-time basis. And the reason why I was doing it is because I did not want to be overseas while my kid was celebrating a birthday, or I didn't want to be on a trip somewhere when there was a special event going on in the life of my child. So I was willing to give all that up and work on the construction business. So that's where our partnership, that's where my full-time involvement with A&J Construction started with Orlindo, and never looked back. You know, I just one step at a time. We started doing more commercial work. Then a good friend of mine, Tony Rizzo Sr., one time we were talking and he said, Ray, let me give you a word of advice. And we share a lot in common because he came to this country at the same age that I did and became a very successful businessman. He said, become certified with the state of Connecticut, start doing work for the state. I'm doing a lot of my work is with the state of Connecticut, and sure enough, that's how we started. I got certified, and then we started picking up jobs, and now we do predominantly state municipal work in, like I said, in these 3 states, Connecticut, New York, and Massachusetts. But yeah, it's people that we surround ourselves with, and you know, again, I did it for wanting to spend time with my kids, and God rewarded me with a wonderful life at A&J, where I had the flexibility of traveling with Joseph to soccer practice. Sometimes we'd go to practice. One year he was playing for a team in West Hartford. They were training by Bradley Airport. We would go there 3 times a week. The other 2 nights he was on the ODP team, so we would be traveling 5 nights a week. On the weekends, we'd be going to games at the same time running a business. And it wasn't easy, but I loved what I was doing, and I was young, full of energy, and didn't regret it once. It was a great time in my life that I truly enjoyed.
Again, that's one of the great things about owning your own business and being an entrepreneur. It's you have the flexibility to do some of the things you want to do. It's not like you're going to work any less, right? But you just have the flexibility to do what you want. I don't have any doubt that if you stayed where you were, who knows how successful you would be. Not any more, any less than you are now, but I have no doubt you'd be unbelievably successful in whatever endeavor you undertook. I think one of the things that sets you apart too, especially as an entrepreneur, is that the pride you have. And I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, maybe in a sense I can, having my own business and maybe one day being able to build it up, and my kid, maybe one of them taking it over, to have built something and family. And I'm sure all of them share that pride too. As a matter of fact, I can't speak for Nick, but I'm sure, I mean, when someone talks about a company, I'm like, oh, my family's A&J Construction. I mean, if I feel pride for what you guys have accomplished, I can't even imagine how you feel when you're, in it and that's your baby. I mean, it's not your baby. I mean, your kids and your grandkids, and your heart will explode compared to your business. But your sweat, your blood, your tears, all your time to have developed into what it has got to be something that probably is mind-boggling to you at this point.
Yeah, and I have to say that I think what gives me the most satisfaction of all, it's not how big the company is or how valuable or exactly what it does, but it's to the point it's having our next generation, our kids involved. My partner has his two sons, Louis and Danny. They've been in the business the longest. They're older than Joseph. They helped build the company to where it is. When Joseph came in, the same thing. That's when we started the milling operation. He got very involved in that. And we've seen tremendous growth as a result of that as well. So, to see them now in a position where they can run, where they're running this company already, is incredibly satisfying for both me and my wife, as well as my brother-in-law, Lindo, and his wife, and knowing that we built something basically from scratch. Lindo was the one that founded the company in 1979, and just give him an incredible amount of credit for the courage that he had to basically start a company without any equipment, without nothing, with a pickup and a few shovels and a wheelbarrow, and and that's how they got it going. And today it's the company that it is. So, but without him, I definitely would not have followed that career, and it would not have been possible. So I have incredible admiration for him and for the opportunity that he gave me to join him. And I think it's been great for him and for his family, as well as for me and my family. And when it's a win-win situation, what more can you ask for?
No, it was a partnership like
Yep.
you and your wife almost.
Exactly.
You guys
That's
have been
exactly right.
Successful in the family endeavor and the business endeavor.
Yep.
Is your success in business a reason you like to? I know you're very involved in a lot of different community endeavors. Why is that? Is it a byproduct of how successful you've been and you want to give back? Is it just something that you knew before any success that you wanted to be involved in? Is it spiritual? What is it that puts you, because you have very limited time and you have family and you have all these things and obligations, yet I know you make time to give back and do a lot of things for various communities, local community, Portuguese community, church. I mean, I couldn't go into all the stuff that you do, but I know a lot of what you do. What is it that drives you to give up your valuable time? Because like I said before, there's nothing more valuable than our time.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that drives you to do that?
Yeah, I think I get more joy out of giving than I do out of receiving. That's just my nature. I like to see things succeed. I like to see a community thrive. I feel deep inside of me, my faith tells me that we should always look to leave this world better than we found it. And the only way we can do that is by, being good citizens, being community-minded, not being selfish, and giving to others as we would like others to give unto us, that sort of feeling. And, I've been involved in the Portuguese community from the day that I came, and I think my uncle Jack Boa, I haven't said much about him, but he was probably one person and figure that was not probably, but definitely a true inspiration for my brother and I, and for the success that we've both had in this country. He was a true entrepreneur in every sense of the word. He only had, I believe it was third or fourth grade in Portugal, but he at one time owned a liquor store. Another time, when we first arrived here, he owned International Bakery. He owned maybe 6 or 7 multifamily houses. when we arrived that year, he went to Portugal with his 4 daughters and spent 3 months in Portugal after he sold his bakery business. Came back, he had a restaurant, Sustancia's restaurant. Like I think I mentioned the liquor store. He had, later on, he was a builder. He built houses. He owned the Belvedere Cafe by the post office in Danbury. A true entrepreneur in every sense of the word. And we learned a lot from Uncle Jack. He was a very dynamic individual, incredible energy, and I think he instilled a lot of value in both my brother and I think that helped us tremendously in following somewhat in his footsteps. My brother only had one business, which was a maintenance business. At one time, he had over 150 employees, just very successful, and then it led me to want to also be an entrepreneur and joining my brother-in-law in the construction business.
Yeah, I keep you're speaking of my grandfather. It gives me like I don't know, emotional. But it's funny. It echoes what you said about. I mean, they were truly brothers. Your father saying, even if his guts in his hands. It's like my grandfather. It was a dynamic person. He was an interesting character for sure.
Yeah.
But what I remember most about him and what he instilled on me was he had an incredible belief in himself.
Mm-hmm. No question.
Which I admired, and I try to when I see people, I try to mimic the good things and maybe try to avoid sometimes the bad things in them. I'm obviously a human being. I have all kinds of faults, but I strive to be the best I can be. And well, my grandfather, he had an incredible self-belief in himself. And that's the entrepreneur, that entrepreneurial spirit. And he didn't succeed in all of the things he undertook, but he wasn't going to stop,
And, just to give you a little synopsis on Uncle Jack and the type of individual that he was, he had met my aunt in Portugal. My aunt came to the United States with her family, and my uncle decided one day that he was going to come and look for her and marry her. And he got held up. He came as a tourist, got held up in Ellis Island, I think overnight. They had to put up a bond. And sure enough, came to Danbury, married my aunt. And later on, they wanted to deport him because he came as a tourist without documents and so forth. So Prescott Bush, who was George Bush Sr.'s father, was a state senator in Connecticut, and the Portuguese Civic League in Danbury was very strong at the time, and they appealed to Senator Prescott Bush, my uncle's case, and Senator Bush introduced in Washington the Boa Bill to, I think it was a 50-page bill to enable my uncle to become a U.S. citizen, and it got approved and it passed, and my uncle became a U.S. citizen. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here, my family wouldn't be here, and the Boas wouldn't be here.
No, the Boas wouldn't.
So most likely you wouldn't be here too, Stephen.
I guess this podcast wouldn't be here for that matter then.
We wouldn't be able to be teaching people how to live the Boa life without all that happening.
Yeah. But to circle back, as far as community, I know my Uncle Jack was a very community-minded person, and I remember I think it was the first couple of years we were here. We've always had 2 Portuguese clubs in Danbury, and there were a lot of sometimes conflicts between the 2 clubs. Families would not speak to each other because one was a member of one, the other one was a member of the other. Whenever there was a soccer match, there would be some infighting and things like that. So there was always a goal of uniting the community. And I remember the first 2 years, there was a meeting at South Street School, and the decision was made to unite the 2 clubs. Attorney Ventura, God rest his soul, was very involved at the time with his partner, Tom West. And my uncle Jack Boa was going to be the first president of this United Club. Well, everything was approved, signed there for that to happen, but then one of the clubs a month later backed out of it, so it never happened. But in the back of my mind, I always frequented both clubs, but I always saw that rivalry and did not feel that the clubs offered the community and young kids, and especially and families, the opportunities that they should. And we, my brother, myself, and a group of individuals, Augie Ribeiro, and others, worked on uniting the community, and we were able to do it. And we had this was, I believe, in 1998. 1998, where we started this thing going. It took us basically 97, took us 3 years to be able to get 2 committees at both clubs that were agreeable to doing it. And we had a motto, all in one, in 2001. And sure enough, we were able to buy the property on Sandpit Road, build the Portuguese Cultural Center, and that gave me a tremendous sense of pride, because I felt that in being part of this unification and building a project such as the Portuguese Cultural Center, it was really honoring my parents for what they had done, and my uncle, Jack Boa, because they always said, never forget where you came from. No matter what you do, never forget where you came from. And that's really a way of us honoring our heritage, our culture. And so that's kind of started my involvement in the community. After during that time, I became also, I was asked to be on the board of directors of the Danbury Hospital, where I served for a 10-year term. I was also asked to be on the board of trustees of Union Savings Bank, a community-minded bank. It was the bank that gave me my first mortgage when my wife and I bought our first 2-family house. So it meant a lot to me, and just the experience of serving on those 2 boards with other business leaders and community-minded leaders just was tremendously beneficial to me personally and professionally, from the standpoint of knowing that I was giving back to my community in many other ways. And so it's been very, very helpful and a great experience.
The stories are just so inspirational to listen to. I know I've heard them time and time again over the years, just from being part of the family, but that doesn't mean that it still doesn't have an effect, every time you do hear about it. Those are the types of things that keep me going, and what that I tell myself I want to do and try new things, whatever it may be, to be a better person day after day. So don't think it goes unnoticed. Mm-hmm. Like I said, hearing it year after year, it still gives me goosebumps. And yeah.
And you know something, Nick? It's I think it's not that it's difficult. If a kid from Africa that came here and could not, when somebody looked at him, I didn't know where to hide, or when somebody talked to me, my heart would start beating. I was able to overcome that through soccer, through folklore, and things like that. But I think just being honest with yourself, having good values, and always doing the right thing, things will happen in our life that will just make us better. And it's not that it's difficult, but you have to be consistent and you have to be persistent. And I think if you do those things consistently, if you look at superstars like Cristiano Ronaldo or Tom Brady, who are the best in soccer and American football, these guys are committed, they're dedicated. It's what they eat, how they train, how they discipline themselves. That's how they became successful and got to where they were. And they came basically from very humble backgrounds. It's not like they had all the opportunities in the world. So I think if you just keep doing the right things, the right results will come. And it's true, I think, in any walk of life or any business or in your personal life. Just keep doing the right things and the right things will happen.
Absolutely. Very true. I feel like ever since Steve told me the actual name of what our podcast was going to be, like it almost, I don't know, it shook me to the core, because I feel like, just when I learned it means the good life. I remember Kelly and I went skydiving years and years ago when we first met, and she had herself filmed, flying to the sky, and you were able to write something on your hands because you were being filmed in the air. So you're going to give the fist up to the cameraman as you're falling through the sky, and she had Boa Vida, and ever since that, it's like, wow, you're living the good life. What's better than that?
Yeah,
No, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than living the good life. And we've always talked about the good life is different for everybody. But I mean, what you're saying resonates with me. I mean, obviously we're blood, and I admire everything that you are, and family's of the most importance to me. And I cherish this conversation. I hope we have many more.
absolutely.
And just what you said is the building blocks to a good life, and it's stuff that people know but need to hear so that it can be reinforced. And we have to consistently and persistently revisit that, success is easy to achieve, but you have to be dedicated and stay on the path, and
Yep.
too often we fall and don't want to get up or are unwilling to make the sacrifices. And I think what you said earlier with your partnerships echoes with me. It's like, I feel like I made a very good decision in the woman I chose to marry. And, with her as a partner, I think I can achieve anything like you have achieved. And even though that's the case, that, enjoy today and plan for tomorrow, but make sure, life can be challenging. Things can happen and come out of nowhere. So appreciate what you have, enjoy it, hold your kids tight, love them, do things you enjoy, golf as much as you can, and have these conversations so that we all know, like I've said before, we're all in this together. You need friends, you need family to enjoy yourself and to achieve great things. And I appreciate you being on here. I love listening to you. It just made me feel good to reminisce, to talk about family, and to hear some of the things that I knew I was going to hear from you. I can't imagine the audience isn't going to be overwhelmed and get a lot out of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Nick. I truly enjoyed this heart-to-heart conversation. I admire you both and for who you are and what you do, and I could not be happier than to be here, to be a part of this experience and to learn from both of you. I think in life we're always learning, and I just hope that what you both are doing is going to be beneficial to your kids, to other families that may listen to what you have to say, and your guests, and that in a small way that I also contribute to that as well. So thank you for this opportunity. I truly enjoyed it, and look forward to an opportunity to do it again, maybe on specific subject or whatever comes up, whatever
Definitely.
you guys decide.
I think the next time we've got to bring the other son-in-law, maybe the son in. We don't want people to get jealous,
We might have to hit the golf course and have a cameraman.
Well, there you go. Well, that could be a very humbling experience because Ray's pretty good.
No,
Can only make you better, right? Want to work harder.
that's it.
We really enjoyed it, Pops. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming. We look forward to the next.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
We hope
Pleasure.
we hope you enjoyed this podcast. Looking forward to seeing you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.